Story 1. If you sit on concrete in a wet bathing suit, you will get hemorrhoids. I heard this from every adult female in my family during my childhood. I once asked, "Hemorrhoids of what?" And my mother chastised me for talking back. It took me years to learn that hemorrhoids are caused by swollen veins in the lower rectum, not by sitting on the porch after a swim. That is not what causes them. Story 2. Go into the store and insist on speaking to a human resources representative by appointment. Paper applications do not exist, and managers are no longer responsible for hiring. Story 3. All you have to do to get everything you need is to try hard. Granted, Mom stopped saying that nonsense when our house was foreclosed on while she worked 2 full-time jobs. Story 4. I do not consider myself an adult yet, but to think that everyone will treat you the way you treat them is very reckless. Story 5. Once you move out, you can live as you please. Total cake. Mom constantly comments on things I need to improve or am doing wrong. Story 6. Joseph Smith is a true prophet of God. The Book of Mormon was a translation from a buried ancient text unearthed and written down by Joseph Smith with the help of angelic visitors and in Urim and Thummim. 45 years later, I realize I was raised in a superficial, tribalistic offshoot of a con man's attempt at gaining wealth in women, while I believed I was just trying to be good and following Jesus. Even my parents are becoming uneasy and realize things don't add up anymore. Story 7. You have to be quiet while fishing. The fish will hear you and get scared away. I was with my relatives and commented on how much they were talking and if they were concerned about the fish hearing them. They laughed very hard. Story 8. Nobody would ever believe me that they hurt me. That may have been true as a child, but I have found that many people believe me. If someone does not believe me and thinks I need to let my parents back into my life, then that person is promptly dismissed from my life as well. Story 9. My parents said girls are bad at math, driving, and making decisions. They said whatever their backward parents told them, and it was that way for generations. I was told never to eat rare steak. No, they were wrong. Do not eat rare poultry or pork. They were mistaken. They said their strict religion was the best. That divorce would not likely happen. Oh, if only those couples did divorce. Happiness is cutting your losses and living as you wanted, even as a single person or with a new partner. Story 10. That I was too sensitive. Looking back, it is pretty normal for an 8-year-old girl to get sad and cry sometimes. Story 11. Nothing. My parents were brutally honest with me. My father told me that I did a horrible job shoveling the snow in the driveway. I wish he had lied to me about that. It hurt my feelings, and I never shoveled the driveway again. I did not do it to get paid. I did it because I wanted to make my father proud. Story 12. It was not just my parents. Milk does a body good. Yes, it is okay. But the commercials and slogans often mislead and even lie to people. Story 13. When I was younger, my dad told me that the inventor of Lifesavers candies came up with the idea after their young child choked on a fruit tingle. They created a candy that no one would choke on, even if stuck in the throat. I cannot tell you how many people I told that to, until one day, we were sitting around sharing a pack, and he flat out told me, "Oh yeah, I just made that up." Story 14. Putting in the work and doing a good job will result in raises and promotions. It worked for my father, but that was 50 years ago. That opportunity has passed in today's world. Story 15. Get a college degree, any degree, and I will get a better job than my dad. Before he retired, my mom college-educated dad was making well into upper-middle-class income as a United Parcel Service truck driver. Now he is retired with a full pension, his house is paid off, and he has excellent health insurance. I have $50,000 in private student loans instead of government loans, no house, and have been unemployed for 8 months, despite having 15 years of work and management experience. Story 16. They only picked on me because I was overweight. They picked on me even more when I responded to their accusations of jealousy with smugness. Story 17. Be kind and people will be kind in return. I proceeded to be run over by a bunch of money-grabbing individuals. Story 18. You will understand when you have children of your own. I do not want them, never will, and still disagree with every decision that line was used in defense of. Story 19. It is always better to feel good than to look good. Mental health should be prioritized over appearance. Story 20. You will change your mind about not wanting children. No. It is the smartest decision I have ever made. Having children is a choice. It is not for everyone, and not everyone should have them. Story 21. Santa Claus was real. Every year I give them both a lump of coal in a gift-wrapped box with a card saying, "From Santa." Story 22. They can get you institutionalized just like that. They cannot. It requires too much effort on the mental health ward's behalf. Story 23. My dad explained the meaning behind Pink Floyd's The Wall. He was wrong about half of it. For your information, Vera is not his wife. Story 24. To make a baby, a man and a woman take off their clothes and lie down on top of each other. I was shocked and never asked another question about how babies were made. Story 25. You are not good at making friends. You do not like change. You are unorganized, messy, forgetful, and always late. Negative thoughts are trying to take control of your mind. You can be anything you want when you grow up. Sure, with all that self-doubt and fear you have instilled in my mind, that seems unlikely. Story 26. Being a man means keeping your pain in a box and moving on. Years later in therapy, I learned that suppressing my feelings was actually unhealthy. Story 27. Santa Claus said, "We are almost there" during the road trip and added, "If you are nice to people, they will be nice to you." Story 28. A real one? Work hard and you can be anything in America. Wrong. The fun one? Angels do not really bowl, Mom. Thunder is the sound produced by the rapid expansion of air surrounding a lightning bolt, caused by the intense heat of the lightning discharge. Well, I guess saying angels were bowling was easier than that, but still. Story 29. It is illegal to sleep later than your parents. It was their way of trying to get me to sleep earlier than them. I remember having nights when I could not sleep at all, and I was so scared that the police would come to my house to arrest me or my parents. Story 30. I believed for far too long that cars could not start unless everyone had their seatbelts on. I owned my own car before I realized my dad would just start the car until I put mine on. I told him years later, and he said, "Good." Story 31. We fully insured your car with State Farm. No, I got into an accident. I only had liability coverage that I was paying for. The car was totaled. Back to the bicycle. Unpleasant experience. Story 32. My dad read a lot about the Civil War. He told me that the Civil War started on a particular date and not earlier because various deals, such as the Missouri Compromise, were made to keep a balance of free and slave states. When the South lost the balance to an anti-slavery president and a vice president who could cast a tie-breaking vote in the Senate, then and only then did the scales tip. The South left the Union and attacked Fort Sumter. This is clearly wrong. Story 33. My parents always insisted that I must focus on my studies and stop working on my computer as a child. They warned that I would not get a job. Ironically, I am a software engineer now. Story 34. My dad always called pasta salads suddenly Susan salads. So I have always called them suddenly Susans, and nobody knew what I was talking about. Story 35. Since I was in 5th grade in primary school, my mother started telling me about things she used to do and her accomplishments. They usually involved important famous people or large enterprises. It would be like, she's driving a car, suddenly points to an advertisement on a skyscraper, and says, "Yes, I gave them advice, they became successful but kicked me away. This ad line, name, innovation, or idea was my original idea. They were ungrateful and did not give me any credit for my work." She would recall her past for an hour or two, often becoming emotional or frustrated. When I was younger, I thought her stories were true or hoped they were. But later, some illogical statements confused me, and I realized she was exaggerating to make herself seem like the builder of the city we live in. She was making it surreal, and I began doubting her. The problem starts here. Every time I try to argue if it's real, She gets mad because I'm doubting her honesty. She claims there are serious political reasons that forbid her from telling more for our safety, actual conspiracies, though I never realized this when I was little. Then she says she will show me evidence when I grow older. She never acknowledges that anything she said is wrong. She simply deflects when there is crucial evidence or says that memory does not exist, redirecting blame to me for eating unhealthily or playing video games causing bad memory. This lasted for 5 or 6 years. Words affect people more than you may imagine. If you met her in real life and she told you all this, you'd probably think she was bragging or had some mental issues. But I got all this information stuck in my mind when I was very young, so even my logic struggles to understand it sometimes. This causes me significant stress, even if you don't believe it. A year ago, I felt depressed or uncomfortable and tried to ignore her when she started again. But now, every time I hear it, I lose control. 3 or 4 times, she promised not to mention it again, citing some big conspiracy reasons she found in spy films, but she breaks that promise every time. When I argue and point out holes in her stories, she calls me rude or ungrateful or responds with unconvincing explanations. Last weekend, I lost myself when she started again in the neighborhood. We had a 2-hour-long debate, after which she screamed at me for being impolite. Ironically, because I stopped believing the stories she poured into my mind when I was little. Later, when we calmed down, she told me I was acting like I had mental issues, laughing while crying and muttering about surreal things, unable to control my facial expressions, and that my Tourette syndrome hit hard. It's hard to explain what I did, but to me it felt like dissociation. I don't know for sure, since I don't have professional knowledge, and I have never been to a doctor to check for mental issues, apart from one instance of self-harming. I think we might be on a path to folie à deux, or she is lying. She still believes that maintaining our stable life is more important than getting me professional help. But I'm past the point of wanting a doctor now. Parents, if you read this, please understand that lies, especially badly constructed structural lies, affect your children more than you may imagine. Summary: pathological lying mother has affected my mental health. I hope it is not genetic. I also do not believe anyone around me will believe me. Story 36. Having a job will make you learn to act like an adult. False. I got my first job when I was 14, and all that did was finance my teenage mischief. The first time I got arrested after turning 18, and they did not call my parents to come pick me up, made me learn to start acting like an adult immediately. Story 37. It is so depressing, but I honestly do not remember my parents giving me any advice. I think I just picked up advice from other adults around me. Story 38. Just study a bit more and work harder. Then you will have fun for the rest of your life. I have earned a degree in engineering and have been working for the past 4 years, but I do not see any fun even in the near future. Story 39. Like 90% of what my parents said growing up is factually wrong. Here are some truths I have learned. There is no God. Liars always get what they want. Corruption usually benefits the corruptors. Praying does not accomplish anything. Always tip 20%. My parents would tip between 10 and 15%. Give the waiter the extra $2. 6. Credit cards are good. The points and benefits add up. Working hard is not enough. Working smart is better. Being lucky is even better. Brown-nosing is what people call managing up. Telling your boss off will never benefit you. People do not remember what you did right. They only remember the mistakes you made. 10. Patience is often confused with laziness. Being aggressive tends to be better. Story 40. If you tell the truth, you will get in trouble. You will just get yelled at with a moral lesson. Story 41. Adjusting mirrors in a car is extra hard. Mom got really annoyed if I adjusted them. When I got the driver's license, I was shocked at how easy it is to adjust the mirrors. Story 42. Bad things happen to bad people and good things happen to good people. Now, sometimes the worst things happen to the best people. Story 43. Bandages slowed healing. It was better to keep the wound exposed to the air. My mother was a nurse, but she was also frugal. Story 44. I used to hang out at my best friend's house growing up, and her father would always warn us, Do not flush the toilet too much or the electricity bill will increase. I later found out he was not very smart. Story 45. Guys and girls cannot be friends. He is probably using you for citizenship. All relationships are transactional. You will understand when you are older. Everyone drinks alcohol at some point. Protein powder cannot go in the fridge. Women can get pregnant at any time. I can probably find at least 20 more. Story 46. If I keep sprinkling salt or sugar, I will have to pick up every single grain before I can go to heaven. I never played with food again after that. Story 47. Getting in trouble in school stays on your permanent record. It will follow you all your life. Story 48. I would miss my school days. They talked about it often, especially my mother, and there is not a single day that passes without me wishing to be back in school again. Story 49. If you press the button on the armrest on the plane as it is taking off, it helps the plane get off the ground safely. In hindsight, I think my mother just wanted all our seats to recline at the same time, so it was not as noticeable that she was doing it. Story 50. Basically, anything about handling money. Today, I know 99% of people have no clue how to manage their own finances. Story 51. The Christian mythos has no evidence supporting the existence of an all-powerful deity. The stories are not original but borrowed from other cultures and peoples. The supposed 6,000-year timeline aligns with changes in the zodiac, from the calf or bull, Taurus, early Old Testament, to the ram or lamb, Aries, late Old Testament, to the Jesus fish symbol representing fishers of men, Pisces, New Testament. Story 52. The Eagles' song Heartache Tonight lyrics are, "There's going to be a heartache tonight," not, "There's going to be a party tonight." Not the most observant child over here. Story 53. Wait, so the "do not swallow gum or it will stay in your stomach for 7 years" thing was just my mom's creative way of keeping me from choking on Trident. Story 54. If I did not behave well, the satyr would come to take me away, or the old man with the bag would steal children. They told me, "You are behaving badly, and I am going to tell the old man with the bag to take capricious children." For fear. Story 55. For most of the first part of my life, I thought everyone went to university the same way everyone goes to primary school. I believed it was just the natural way of life. Story 56. Leaving the refrigerator open too long will cause all the food to spoil. Put butter on a burn. If a boy teases you mercilessly, punches you, or pulls your hair, it means he likes you. Feed a cold, starve a fever. Just for a few. Story 57. The claim that people swallow 5 spiders in their sleep is false. It was created to demonstrate how gullible people can be on the internet. Story 58. Not my parents, but I think my old au pair said that Space Invaders were healthier than other snacks because they were cheaper. Story 59. That would be most of the things they said. All the fear-mongering, false beliefs, superstitions, and nonsense. Story 60. My grandmother used to tell me that if I wore heavy clothing or a jacket in the summertime, I would get worms. As a child, I imagined earthworms crawling between me and my clothes. Story 61. They told me some man sneaks through the chimney and brings presents on Christmas. Turns out it was just them. I don't understand why they didn't want credit for that. Story 62. If you eat too much white cabbage, your breasts may continue to grow. I never believed it, barely ate white cabbage, and was cursed with breasts that were too large. Story 63. I learned it was untrue long before adulthood, but one of my favorite old stories was that if someone walked by and slapped you on the back while you were making a face, your face would get stuck that way forever. Story 64. If I did not eat the crust on my sandwiches or pizza, my hair would fall out. Turns out the cause is genetic male pattern baldness. Story 65. My mom told me Lake Tahoe was man-made. There is a list of things, but that was the most recent, and I actually feel embarrassed. Story 66. I cannot see the road when you turn on the interior light. I have been driving for 26 years, and that has never been true. Story 67. My parents told me Santa Claus was not real when I was 9 years old. The joke is on them, he still comes every year. Story 68. If you eat the seeds, a watermelon will grow in your stomach. This still hasn't happened after all these years. Story 69. My parents have a lot of unusual superstitions and traditions that I found do not really affect people, such as, if you trim your eyebrows, you will have bad luck. This originated from my dad, who said that in ancient China, they would shave the eyebrows off convicted thieves as punishment. Therefore, trimming your eyebrows is considered bad luck. After giving birth to a baby, you should not wash your hair for a month. My mom followed this because my grandmother, her mother-in-law, not her own mother, told her so. You cannot wash your hair on your birthday. It is bad luck. Both of these beliefs come from the practice of washing the hair of someone who has died. So washing hair on certain occasions is considered bad luck, according to my grandmother. There are many similar beliefs that we assumed were true before getting older and realizing that my grandmother associated things with bad luck in roundabout ways and made up rules based on very thin premises. But Chinese superstition is like that. For example, eating noodles is believed to give you long life because noodles are long. Story 70. My mom swore that if you left something on the grass on a night with a full moon, the grass would be dead in the morning. I have always been scientifically curious, so I left the trash can lid on the grass the night before, the night of, and the night after the full moon. I removed it during the day. The grass was fine. The myth from my mom was busted. Story 71. It is illegal to have the dome light on in the car while driving, even for a moment to find something. Story 72. There is always someone worse off than you. Look, you are probably right, but do not devalue how 8-year-old me is feeling right now because my feelings are valid. Story 73. If you put shoes on the table, someone will die. Even now, if my husband sets a pair of shoes on the chair at our table, I sweat a bit. My grandmother would say this to us all the time. Granted, putting shoes on the table is very disgusting. Story 74. We will go to jail if you don't go to school, Mom told me. When I was older, I realized that's probably half true. Story 75. When we frowned, our mother would tell us that our faces would stay like that. And that is what happened to Lenny, our neighbor who always looked angry. Story 76. My daughter heard her grandmother had to get her appendix removed when she was young and became very afraid every time she had any ache in her tummy, thinking it was her appendix. My daughter also has gas like her father, and we pass gas a lot, so I told her appendix is fine as long as she passes gas frequently. Story 77. When I was a small child, I was always told that my biological mother never wanted me, and that is why she put me up for adoption. Decades into adulthood, not only did I find my biological mother, but I am also very close to her and the entire family. She even used to bake me a cake every year on my birthday despite never meeting me after I was born. My mom loves me more than the guardian I had growing up. Story 78. My loving mother always told me I was a liar. Come to find out, it was her most of the time. She is deceased. I am trying to deal with her behavior. Story 79. I was raised Christian. I was made to believe in magic and that my life was predetermined by gods before I was born. As it turns out, gods are imaginary beings. The God I was taught about is as imaginary as all the others. He was neither the first nor the last god invented. Story 80. Not so much what they told me, but what they didn't and what I still don't know. There are many family members on both sides that I have rarely or never met, and about whom I know next to nothing. Both my parents never wanted to talk much about these relatives, and living in a different country since childhood made it far easier for them to isolate me from people they did not want me to know too much about. My family is very toxic and shame-based, and some aspects of these individuals would trigger that shame, so they have deliberately kept me from learning about them. Living across an ocean, I have few means of finding out. This is one hidden, unpleasant aspect of immigration that those trying to persuade you to move to another country will not tell you, as they flash their salesperson smile and explain in their trained newscaster voice why you should leave everything behind and start from zero instead of staying where you are now. Besides, they address adults, and if you are a child, you have no choice but to follow the adults anyway, so it is not like you have any choice in the matter. Story 81. Shaving my body hair would not result in thicker, coarser hair. I did not shave my legs until I was 25 years old because I feared the hair would grow back thicker. When I started shaving, I realized that it did not. The same was true for my upper lip, Even though my brother teased me about having a 5 o'clock shadow when I was 13. I was scared I would end up with a crazy mustache if I started shaving. Story 82. Blood in your veins is not blue. Chewing gum does not stay in your stomach for 7 years. Eating ice does not mean you have worms. Story 83. Your job is whatever your supervisor tells you to do. The amount of outdated thinking in this statement is astonishing. The number of difficult situations I encountered in my early jobs because I was specifically taught not to stand up for myself is incredible. Story 84. Do not talk or you will scare away the fish. Dad just wanted you to be quiet so he could drink his beer and fish in peace. Story 85. Oh God. Where to start? 85% of the things my parents told me were lies. I love you was probably the biggest lie. My father tried to literally kill me a couple of times because he did not believe antibiotic allergies were real. He even told me to keep taking them despite gigantic hives on my arms. He said it was a heat rash from my hoodie. The hives were always just a heat rash. For her part, my mother was going to destroy me herself and did not want any assistance from the antibiotics. Her "I love you" was false because she walked in and accused me at 17 of sleeping with the 50-plus coworker she had been having an affair with. She tried to smack me across the face for the umpteenth time when I laughed at her accusation. She then lied to people for years, saying I hit her. Not everyone changes their life to accommodate the children they claim to want so badly. Story 86. Drugs can be harmful and potentially dangerous if misused. However, when used responsibly and in moderation, and obtained from trustworthy sources, they can be safe. Story 87. Chocolate and sweets do not inherently make you gain fat. Only your overall calorie intake matters. If you eat chocolate cakes all day but remain below your maintenance level of calories, you will lose fat. The same applies to healthy food. If you eat more than you need, even healthy food will cause you to gain fat. Story 88. I remember begging for family therapy in the middle of a huge family argument, literally screaming that we needed therapy to fix this because it was our daily life. Mom just turned to continue the dishes while shouting that this was normal and everything was fine. I loved being chased with knives and being physically beaten by my brother. I loved having no emotional control and continuing that cycle with my sister. I really loved sweeping every conflict under the rug and never dealing with anything. So healthy and normal. Story 89. That vodka needed to be kept in the refrigerator or it would go bad. They just wanted to monitor my drinking, but it backfired. Every once in a while, one of them would go to take a chug of a water bottle only to get a mouthful of vodka. Story 90. My first grade teacher taught us that the only non-president on money was Benjamin Franklin on the $100 bill. It was not until the Hamilton musical that I learned differently, long after I had finished school, and Alexander Hamilton's bill is much more common. Story 91. You will catch a cold if you go outside without a jacket. You will catch a cold if you go outside with wet hair, which is unwise, but it does not cause colds. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.